So why do people go blank in the IELTS speaking test? Could it be panic, overthinking, or maybe just no strategy? In this video, we will look at how to never run out of ideas in the IELTS speaking test. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Zane's English Lounge. So in this video, we are going to be discussing how to generate ideas and how to be expressive and not run out of ideas in the IELTS speaking test. So as you can notice, I have my headset on today, so I hope you can hear me clearly there. So if you look at why do we go blank or run out of ideas in the IELTS speaking test, it is sometimes because we just go blank when we hear an unfamiliar topic, or we just try to overthink and plan that perfect answer instead of just speaking, and that's how we just stall and pause and go blank. Or maybe we just don't have an idea of how to generate ideas quickly. So in this video, we are going to look at 5 basic strategies that can help us to generate ideas quickly and to speak fluently and more effectively in the IELTS speaking test. So the first strategy that we can look at is the brainstorming technique or strategy. So with the brainstorming technique, as it is called, the brainstorming, it's a storm that happens in the brain, right? You're thinking about ideas, you're thinking about associating words with the topic that you've heard about. So words association is there. Then you're asking your W questions, the why, where, what, who, about any topic, just to generate their ideas. Also personal connection. You're looking for a story, you're looking for something that happened before or happened in the past that can connect to this topic that you are going to be sharing about. Also, categories are important, right? Different categories or different topics fall under different categories. So this is the brainstorming technique that we can use, and it can help us with these 4 points: word association, the W questions, the personal connection, and the category scan. So this is technique number 1. So strategy or technique number 2 is the idea category technique. So in English, everything has a category, right? Everything falls under a certain grouping. Okay, for example, if you're talking about technology, you have these words associated with it, like apps, or social media, gadgets, or maybe talking about education. The category is education. What falls under that will be school, learning, teachers, books, pen, pencil, chalkboard. All these fall under different categories. If you look at some more, if you look at the health category, exercise, food, well-being, right? Environment category, your nature, pollution, climate. So everything has a category and falls under those categories are words associated with that category. So we need to learn these categories. So that just boosts our vocabulary bank as well, right? So we know these categories, we can associate words with these categories, and thereby we can speak effectively because we know what categories we are wanting to talk about. So also in this category technique, there's the rule called the 3 idea rule. So where we look at people, we look at places, and we look at experiences. So it is with these 3 rules that we can really expand our answer and speak more expressively if we look at these three things or these three rules: the people rule, the places rule, and the experience rule. So it gives us different angles that we can speak from. So let's look at these three rules in detail. Okay, so the three idea rule in detail, right? Let's look at the first one, the people rule. With an example topic, do you like cooking? Right? So with the people rule, who are we going to think about? Right? If we have this question, do you like cooking? We can think about a family member, a parent, a sibling, a grandparent, or we can think of a friend, of a classmate, a teacher, or a mentor, a famous person, or public figures, right? So basically, we're looking at people here. So we're going to think about which person did I do cooking with, or which person can I speak about that involves cooking, right? So we're going to look at people, and then we're going to look at the places rule. If we look at the places rule with the same, with a different topic, do you enjoy reading, right? What are we going to think about? We're going to think about maybe our hometown or city. We're going to think about the library. We're going to think about the university. We're going to think about the school, maybe a park, a cafe, right? Or maybe a country which we visited that interested us when we were reading, right? So all these things are now word associations, right? Falling under the category of places. Okay, so moving on to the last one of this three idea rule, experiences. And with this example topic, tell me about a sport you enjoy. Yeah. So what experiences are we going to draw from here? We're going to think about the past, whether we played sport in school, whether our parents taught us a sport, whether our uncles or aunts taught us a sport, or maybe we played sport last week. We can speak about that. Maybe we went on a trip somewhere and we played sport with some friends we met. And maybe we were um, finding it difficult to play a sport, and we actually learned how to play a sport, and we can speak about that, right? That's a challenge that we also overcame. So this three idea rule gives us a lot of angles to work from, right? People, places, experiences. And guys, this will definitely uh, give you more answer time, right? Because you'll know what to talk about. You will not go blank because you definitely have people to think about. You'll definitely have places to think about, and you'll definitely have an experience or two to think about. So let's use personal examples in technique number 3, and let's look at that. So guys, another strategy we're going to look at is personal examples. Adding personal examples just creates that personal touch to our answer, creating that connection with our own life to our answer. So we're going to look at an example without a personal example and with a personal example, right? So the topic question will be, do you like music? So without the personal example, it would read, I like music because it's relaxing. Many people listen to music. It's very popular. Okay, nothing wrong with that answer. But in terms of IELTS, once again, it's a bit too short and it gives the examiner nothing to assess you on, right? So you need to be a bit more expansive and expressive so you can show the examiner that I know what I'm speaking about and I can have a good command of the English language. So with the personal example, it would read, I'm really into jazz music. My uncle introduced me to it when I was about 15. He used to play the saxophone, and I remember feeling amazed the first time I heard him play at a family gathering. Now compare the answer on the left to the answer we just read now. Totally different, right? Because there's more information. Now it's not just music. Now it's jazz music, right? So now we're getting more specific. Then we spoke about our uncle who introduced us, a personal touch, and what the uncle used to play, right? And then we talk about our feelings, how it made us feel inside. And we can notice, right, how the personal example just adds that detail, adds that emotion, and naturally extends our answer. Okay, so um, using personal examples is a very, very powerful technique that we could use. So let's look at another technique that we can use. Technique number 4. Okay, so guys, technique number 4 is the storytelling technique. So we all like stories, we all like to hear stories. So how exactly do we tell stories? So there's a simple but effective way and method of going about the storytelling technique. So firstly, we have to look at a cue card that we have. Describe a memorable day you had with a friend. You should say who your friend is, when and where it happened, what you did together, and why was it memorable. So, cue card aside, let's look at the method. Firstly, we need to set the scene. For example, we say, it was a rainy Saturday afternoon during my university holidays. Then we add a character. My best friend and I decided to visit a small cafe near the beach. Then we add a challenge. Something happened along the trip or along the way. However, halfway there, our car suddenly broke down and we had no idea what to do. Then we show the result, what happened at the end. In the end, a local mechanic helped us, and although the day didn't go as planned, we laughed a lot and it became one of my favorite memories. So guys, we see the storytelling technique adds different layers as we go on. First set the scene, then it adds the character to the scene, then it adds a challenge of what happened on that trip, and then the final result, what happened after. And we can look at our final answer combined with those 4 techniques. It was a rainy Saturday afternoon and during my university holidays, my best friend and I decided to visit a small cafe near the beach because we both wanted to relax after exams. However, halfway there, our car suddenly broke down and we had no idea what to do. At first, we felt really stressed, but eventually a local mechanic helped us to fix the problem. In the end, although the day didn't go as planned, we laughed a lot and it became one of my favorite memories. So guys, this is the storytelling technique and it can really help us in expanding our answers and to give more angle, give more expressive views on what we have to talk about. So guys, let's move on to the next and the final topic or the final strategy that we could use in how to never run out of ideas. Okay, so in the IELTS speaking test, we may have experiences or we may not have experiences. If we don't have experiences, it's perfectly fine to invent, right? Invent ideas naturally, right? So I'm not promoting lying, guys, but in the IELTS exam, the speaker wants or the examiner wants to hear your fluency, and the examiner wants to hear your English, not whether it really happened or not, right? It just wants to hear how you express what you are talking about. So guys, inventing ideas naturally is a technique that we use when we don't have experiences to speak about, or maybe we cannot remember at the time. So the thing about this is we need to keep it believable, right? We cannot say like we were riding a unicorn one day and you know something like that. Not too far-fetched. Keep it believable, right? That we need to use our real emotions. Like even if the story was invented, put yourself there. How did you feel at that moment? How would you have felt if that had really happened at that moment, right? You could also use specific details, names, dates that make the inventor's story sound real. And sometimes you can maybe take a real experience and maybe add an invented idea in there just to create that assessment for the examiner to hear you, which he can use to assess you well, right? So inventing natural details or inventing details naturally is a technique we use, and yeah, it's not about lying or yeah, but it's about more fluency, right? It's more uh, letting the examiner see or hear that you can speak English fluently. So next we're going to look at how can we expand our answers using feelings or opinions and with examples. Okay guys, so next we are going to look at how to expand our answers using different emotions, right? We can either use excited, feelings of excitement, we have feelings of nervousness or anxiousness, or we can be grateful, right? And we have examples of this here. We can use it as I was really excited because it was my first time traveling abroad. Or if we are feeling nervous, we could say, to be honest, I felt quite nervous before the presentation because so many people were watching me. And sometimes we may feel nervous at that time, and maybe we've had an experience of when we were nervous. We could bring it out in the speaking topic as well, right? If the cue card or if the question can get that answer. Okay, next we can be grateful. I felt really grateful that my parents supported me through university, right? So we can use these different types of feelings to expand our answers as well. Also, we can expand with opinions, right? We can use our personal opinion. I personally think that public transport should be improved in big cities, right? That's what I think. That's my personal experience. Or we could use a real life experience. In my experience, students learn faster when the lessons are interactive, right? This is what I know. This is what I've experienced, that students learn faster when lessons are interactive. Or we can just use a natural opinion, where I'd say that technology has made communication much easier, right? So that's the natural opinion. Not many people or not all people will have that opinion, but it's just a natural opinion that we have, right? And we can use it to expand our answers in the IELTS speaking test. Also, we can use examples to expand with examples, like we see here in this cue card topic. Do you like traveling, right? We see our useful phrases on the left. For example, for instance, like when I was, such as to give you an example, and so on. So if we have to look at the topic cue card answer, do you like traveling? Yes, absolutely. For example, last year I visited a small village in the countryside with my cousin. It was completely different from city life, and the local people were incredibly friendly, right? Also, with this one, you could also use a comparison. How is it different from city life to the countryside? So you can make that comparison as well if you want to also expand your answer there. Okay, so those are the things we can also use. Some added things we can use to expand our answers. We can use our emotions, we can use our opinions, we can use examples. So these are the things, guys, that can help us to never run out of ideas again, right? Practicing these, listening to English podcasts, listening to English speakers, going over these examples, going over cue cards, using this can help us a lot. So guys, next we are going to look at the key takeaways that we can look to. Okay guys, key takeaways for you. The 3-idea example, or 3-idea rule. People, places, experience. Remember, always think of people when you're telling your story. Always thinking of places where it happened and what happened in those places. Also remember your storytelling structure is important as well. You need to set the scene of the story. You need to add your character. You need to create that challenge and then what happened at the end. Also remember you can tell stories that are real or invented. Remember the examiner wants to hear fluency more than if the story really happened. So guys, those are your key takeaways for today from this video and how to never run out of ideas. And I hope that you don't run out of ideas in the IELTS speaking test. So guys, if you like this video, please like it, subscribe it, and share it so you can also help me grow my channel and also have more useful IELTS content that you can come back to and look over. So if you also want more specific IELTS content or just general English, leave a comment in the below section, and also you can help me with some um, comments, advice, whatever you would like to share with me. I would love to hear that. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you again the next time on Zane's English Lounge. Bye.